Registration under GST Law. Simplified by Taxes Toolbox. Subscribe now. Understanding registration under GST Law. As explained in the video, person liable to pay tax. If a person is considered a taxable person, they are required by GST law to register themselves. This was covered in the video titled Person Liable to Pay Tax. Link of video titled Person Liable to Pay Tax is given below. In this video, we will discuss a variety of topics relating to the GST registration. Number of GST registration can be done by a taxable person. With a single permanent account number, a taxable person can apply for registration in each state or union territory. If a taxable person has more than one place of business in the same state or union territory, he or she may be able to get two different registrations on the same PAN. For the purposes of GST, a taxpayer who has more than one registration number in the same state or union territory under the same PAN would be considered a different person for each registration number. PAN is a compulsory document for GST registration, but following person can apply without PAN. A. Non-resident taxable person. B. To a person required to deduct tax under Section 51 of the CGST Act. They have to submit such other documents as may be prescribed under the Act. What is GSTIN? GSTIN stand for Goods and Services Tax Identification Number is a unique 15-digit identification number assigned to every taxpayer registered under the GST regime. First 2-digit is state code. Next 10-digit is PAN number. 13-digit is number of registration in state. 14-digit is alphabet Z default. 15-digit is called the check code to detect errors and be any alphabet. Once the GST registration application is verified and passed by the GST officer, a unique GSTIN is assigned to the business. GST Registration Period. GSTIN registration application has to be submitted within 30 days from the date on which the person becomes liable to registration. If there is delay in application, then the person will not be allowed benefit of input tax credit in respect of inputs held in semi-finished or finished goods held in stock as on the date when he became liable for registration. Effective date of registration. Registration shall be effective from the date on which the person becomes liable for registration. Application has been submitted by the applicant after 30 days from the date of being liable to be registration. Effective date of registration shall be the date of grant of registration. Amendment and cancellation of registration. Every registered person is required to inform about any changes in the information furnished at the time of registration or subsequently within 15 days of such changes. What are core and non-core fields in GST registration details? The fields of a GST registration application are classified as core fields and non-core fields. Core fields are as follows. Business name, legal name, if there is no change in PAN principal and additional places of business, other than any change in the state, addition or deletion of stakeholders such as promoters or partners or Karta or managing committee or CEO. Non-core fields are as follows. The rest of the fields other than the core fields mentioned above will be called the non-core fields under GST. Jurisdictional tax officials' approval for amendment of core field. Whereas, amendment of non-core fields are automatically approved once the amendment application is cancellation of registration. Cancellation of GST registration means that the taxpayer will no longer be a registered person under GST and will not have to collect any GST, claim an input tax credit or file returns. A person has to apply for cancellation of registration within 30 days of the occurrence of event and within 30 days from the submission of application. Appropriate action has to be taken by the officer. The registered person has to submit an application electronically for cancellation. Tax due to be paid and details of the payment, if any, made against such liability. Relevant documents in support of the application for cancellation. Cancellation of GST registration by the tax officer. The proper officer can initiate the cancellation proceedings if any of these circumstances arise. Return not filed. Composition scheme 3 straight months. Other than composition scheme 6 straight months. Voluntary GST registration but has not started a business 6 months of registration. Contravened the provisions of the GST Act or rules. Fraud or willful misstatement. Supply of goods or services to evade tax or wrongful availing of the input tax credit. If a taxpayer fails to pay tax, interest or penalty within 3 months from the date on which such payment becomes due. Closure of business of the taxpayer. Death of sole proprietor. Change in constitution of the taxpayer leading to change in PAN. Transfer of business due to merger or amalgamation. However, before the cancellation of GST registration, a taxpayer should be given a reasonable opportunity of being heard. Intimate the taxpayer to furnish a reply within 7 working days from the date of service of notice.